For years, Officer Gregory Calloway and Officer Anthony Miller did whatever they wanted. Every traffic stop was a trap. Every complaint disappeared. They ruled through fear, knowing no one could touch them until they harassed the wrong man. A black man walking his German shepherd through a quiet neighborhood. A man they assumed was powerless, just another face they could intimidate. When he didn't submit, when he questioned their authority, they escalated. Harsh words became threats. Threats became violence. And when his dog stepped forward, one of their fate, them reached for his gun. Now Malcolm Hayes, a Delta Force operative with nothing left to lose, is coming for them, the officers thought. They understood power, thought their badges made them untouchable. But they have no idea what's coming. Justice will be swift and painful. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe the Afternoon Suncast. Long shadows over the quiet suburban street, its golden light filtering through the trees that lined the neatly paved sidewalks. Rex's paws tapped rhythmically against the concrete, his ears flicking at the distant hum of a lawnmower, the occasional chirp of birds hidden among the branches. His leash hung loosely in Malcolm's grip, the German shepherd, moving in perfect sync with his owner, alert but relaxed. It was a beautiful day, one of those rare moments when the world felt still, uncomplicated. Malcolm took a slow breath, inhaling the crisp scent of freshly cut grass, feeling the weight of the day ease just slightly. This walk was part of his routine, a simple pleasure. After long weeks spent traveling for work, he had been away longer than usual this time, overseeing security operations overseas. Now that he was back, he wanted nothing more than to enjoy the little things. A quiet walk with Rex, the feeling of the sun on his skin, the comfort of home. Yet, even as he savored the moment, he was aware of the eyes. It always happened. A car rolling to a slow stop at a nearby intersection, the slight movement of a curtain in a second-story window, a jogger who hesitated just a little too long before continuing past. Malcolm had weeks spent traveling for work. He had been away longer than usual this time, overseeing security operations overseas. Now that he was back, he wanted nothing more than to enjoy the little things. A quiet walk with Rex, the feeling of the sun on his skin, the comfort of home. Yet, even as he savored the moment, he was aware of the eyes. It always happened. A car rolling to a slow stop at a nearby intersection, the slight movement of a curtain in a second-story window, a jogger who hesitated just a little too long before continuing past. Malcolm had spent most of his adult life in high-risk environments where survival depended on reading a situation before it unfolded. Out there, it was about identifying threats, enemy combatants, hidden explosives, unseen dangers waiting in the shadows. Here, in the place that was supposed to be home, it was different, subtler, less overt, but no less real. He felt it in the way strangers' eyes lingered on him just a second too long, in the way some clutched their purses a little tighter, in the way a man walking his golden retriever had spent most of his adult life in high-risk environments where survival depended on reading a situation before it unfolded. Out there, it was about identifying threats, enemy combatants, hidden explosives, unseen dangers waiting in the shadows. Here, in the place that was supposed to be home, it was different, subtler, less overt, but no less real. He felt it in the way strangers' eyes lingered on him just a second too long, in the way some clutched their purses a little tighter, in the way a man walking his golden retriever had crossed the... Malcolm felt the heat rise in his chest. "I'm just walking my dog," he replied, gesturing toward Rex, who had stopped to sniff a nearby bush. "I live just around the corner." "Mind if we see some identification?" Calloway demanded, stepping closer, his posture rigid. Malcolm's instincts screamed at him. He had faced down armed insurgents, negotiated with hostile forces, but this was different. This was his neighborhood, and he was a veteran, a protector, not a threat. Yet, as he reached for his wallet, he felt the weight of their eyes, the judgment that came without understanding. "Why are you treating me like this?" he asked, his voice rising involuntarily. "I've done nothing wrong." "Just doing our job," Miller replied, crossing his arms, a smug look of authority plastered on his face. Malcolm handed over his ID, but the tension in the air thickened, becoming almost palpable. Rex, sensing his owner's distress, barked softly, trying to bridge the gap between the escalating confrontation and the innocent joy of their walk. "Is this your dog?" Calloway asked, eyeing Rex with suspicion. "Yes," Malcolm said, feeling the anger boiling within him. "He's my service dog." "Service dog, huh?" Miller scoffed. "Looks more like a pet to me." The dismissive tone ignited something deep within Malcolm. He had dedicated his life to serving his country, to protecting those who couldn't protect themselves, and now here he stood, being questioned like a common criminal. He took a deep breath, forcing himself to remain calm, but the humiliation gnawed at him. "What's really going on here?" Malcolm asked, his voice low but steady. "Are you really concerned about a man walking his dog, or is this about something else?" The officers exchanged a glance, and in that moment, Malcolm knew he had crossed an invisible line. Calloway stepped forward, invading Malcolm's personal space, his expression hardening. "You need to watch your tone, sir. We could take you in for questioning." Malcolm's heart raced, not with fear, but with a surge of indignation. "You're making a mistake, Gaucher," he said, his voice rising again. "I'm not the threat here." But the officers were not listening. They had made their judgment, and in their eyes, Malcolm was just another statistic, another potential criminal to be subdued. The situation spiraled out of control as Calloway reached for his handcuffs, the metallic clink echoing ominously in the still air. "Stop! What are you doing?" Malcolm shouted, instinctively stepping back. Rex barked again, sensing the tension, his body tense against the leash. In the chaos, the officers lunged. Malcolm's training kicked in, years of discipline and instinct taking over. He dodged, but in that moment, Rex, caught in the middle, barked fiercely, a protective growl emanating from deep within him. "Get that dog away!" Miller shouted, panic flashing across his face. In an instant, the situation escalated beyond reason. Malcolm felt the world slow around him, the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he fought against the instinct to protect Rex. But the officers, fueled by their own fear and misunderstanding, reacted with aggression. A gunshot rang out, piercing the air, and Malcolm felt time freeze. Rex yelped, collapsing to the ground. Malcolm's heart shattered as he rushed to his side, cradling the dog in his arms, the warmth of his body fading. The officers stood frozen, the reality of their actions crashing down around them. In that moment, Malcolm transformed from a victim into something else entirely. The loss of Rex ignited a fire within him, a relentless pursuit of justice that would not be extinguished. He looked up at the officers, fury and sorrow mingling in his chest. They had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Days turned into weeks as Malcolm navigated the aftermath of that tragic encounter. He poured his grief into action, gathering evidence, speaking to witnesses, and slowly building a case against the officers who had taken everything from him. The bond he had shared with Rex, once a source of joy, now fueled his determination to hold them accountable. Malcolm's journey was fraught with challenges, a relentless battle against a system that often favored those in power. He faced resistance at every turn, but he refused to back down. His instincts, honed through years of service, guided him as he navigated the murky waters of injustice, racism, and the struggle for dignity. The weight of his experience transformed him into a voice for others who had faced similar fates. He spoke out, sharing his story and advocating for change, refusing to let Rex's death be in vain. The fight was long and arduous, but with each step, Malcolm reclaimed his dignity, channeling his pain into a force for good. In the end, Malcolm Hayes was no longer just a former Delta Force commander. He had become a symbol of resilience, a relentless force seeking justice in a world that often turned a blind eye. And as he continued to walk the streets, he carried Rex's spirit with him, a reminder of the bond they had shared and the fight that lay ahead.